Hey everybody, Jesse Reed here with Dropout Entertainment. I'm here with Shane Burrow. How's it going, Shane?
It's going great. Thank you very much, Jesse.
Acting so tough, but you're racing the gods.
I'm so stoked to see it. I've had the opportunity to kind of watch your career throughout through many years here. It's been a long time ago that we met, and you got a new project out, The Hands. How's everything go with The Hands?
Thanks for asking. It has been a lot of years now that we bring it up. Yeah, and I think first and foremost, I just want to congratulate you on how successful you've been in that amount of time. I know that you've been through a lot of hardships. There was a lot of years that, might not have made sense, but you stuck with it. And I've seen a lot of exponential growth, like just in the traffic, in the caliber of like artists that you're interviewing. You're getting flown out to cover festivals and do all kinds of different tastings and stuff. And so I just kind of wanted to give you your flowers at the beginning before we got into any of my stuff, because as I said to you off camera, you really didn't have to come and do this interview. You're kind of onto bigger and better things, but I think it's just such a part of the ethos of Dropout Entertainment that you're still willing to come and give some shine to artists that may not be as big as some of the people that are on your platform nowadays. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, man.
I just wanted to thank you. Anyway, to answer your question, yes. I have a dear friend named Austin Costello. He's a very talented actor who lives in Toronto, and he's like a brazen cinephile, much like myself. So whenever we're out together, we talk a lot about film, which kind of bleeds into film scores. And you did an interview with me about my last project with Kyle Colazar, the Assholes project. And that was very cinematic, very inspired by film score and like just film in general. And so I was kind of having that discussion with my friend Austin. We were talking about some of the scoring we like, some of the composers, and then we started talking about just music in film and just doing something that has like a really simple groove that you can kind of riff over. Sorry about that. You can kind of riff over.
Let me get back. I'll give you some room for some hand movements here.
Yeah, I'm so excited. It's been a while since we hung out, but I just we were talking a lot about making something that's very simple, whereas the Assholes stuff was very layered and very lush. We wanted to do something that was super simple, bare bones, and then he would do vocals over top of it because he's also a very good singer. Unfortunately, during the time period that I recorded the music for that project, he became very embroiled in his acting, and he was doing a lot of rehearsals and doing some of his own stuff on social media. So unfortunately, he wasn't able to commit himself to the project. But after writing the music and listening back to it and hearing the mixes, I'd kind of become so married to it. So with his blessing, I decided to move forward with it myself. And the whole idea was that we had these simple recordings that were really just kind of mood riffs. They weren't really song structures. And I would just come in, write lyrics in one take, and record them in one take. So that's what we did. With the help of my friend Sean Hook Carlton and my friend Jesse from Starship Experience, we were able to go into Jesse's kind of basement studio and just kind of bang them all out in one session. And I was so pleased with how they turned out that I was like, okay, this is going to be like a palatable project. I want to release some music videos and really give it its due. So that's where we are right now with it. Very long-winded answer to your question.
No, I love that. Well, I was going to ask because I saw that it was inspired by him, but I didn't see any credits or anything, and I looked him up, and I was like, I don't see the connection here. So I'm glad you got.
Yeah, I suppose from the outside looking in, it's quite cryptic, but yeah, basically I wanted to give him a shout out, like a credit for the inspiration, because really, if it hadn't have been for him, the project never would have came to fruition. And just throughout the entire process, and then shooting the videos and some subsequent shows that we've performed, you know, it's brought me a lot of joy and a lot of pride. So I wanted to make sure that, you know, he was credited accordingly. And also, you know, from seeing some of his reaction to how it's kind of been embraced by the community, at least in Toronto so far, it's possible that he might actually take part in a second release. So we're going to try and talk about maybe doing some things for real together this time. So it's kind of awesome that it worked out the way that it did.
Ever since I started listening to your music, one thing that I have really loved is every time you send me a track, I never know what it's going to be. You know, your music is so diverse. You never just try to stick to one thing. It doesn't seem like you ever put yourself in a box. And I feel like this album, you know, Callous, really is a testament to that. The 2 songs on it, very different. Yeah, what do you kind of think drives you to always be going different directions with it instead of just kind of staying in one lane?
It's a question that I really appreciate. So thank you for pointing that out, because it's certainly intentional. To pinpoint the exact reason on why my music is so varied, I really couldn't tell you a definitive answer, other than just really not wanting to conform to any sort of genre or any sort of label, which seems to be even more prevalent in the streaming era, I think now. I think to be a successful artist in music, it's really important to be, you know, punk or be rock or be EDM. And, you know, growing up in the 90s, I just loved such an eclectic bunch of music, and I never really wanted to adhere to that. And I think with so much time being in different projects and having the joy that comes from collaborating with different people and, you know, wanting to convey emotions and colors and different palettes from things that are inside me, and not being like, well, I shouldn't make this song because I'm not a rock band or I'm not a punk band or whatever, has really allowed me to flourish as an artist. And it's important that I kind of continue to stay on that road, so that I'm never in a position where I'm like, oh, you know, like I wish I hadn't have just, you know, pigeonholed myself into one thing. That being said, you know, I'm sure it's affected the amount of success that comes with any sort of branding situation. But then again, you know, as we've kind of hinted at, I mean, I've just been involved in so many different projects in the last 10 years alone that, I mean, I don't think branding was ever on my mind. I think it was more just about expression and wanting to be different and wanting to cater to different audiences and have different experiences in the shows that I create and the art that I create and the visuals that I create with the music videos. So
Nice.
thank you for the question.
No, I love that answer. And so you alluded there, you know, it's not just the songs that you kind of switch up between genres, but you've also got multiple different projects kind of, it seems like, going on at all times. You know, you got BingeNinja going, you got Assholes going, now you got The Hands. When you're writing a song, how do you know where it's gonna go, or do you know where it's gonna go? At what point in the song do you decide where it is going?
Another really good question. Hopefully my answer is not as long-winded as my other ones have been so far. That's, you know, it's hard to gauge. I mean, there's certainly been times where I've written a song in one day and I'm like, that's a BingeNinja song for sure, you know, just based on how I feel about it. And then, you know, like I said about this project, it was intentional that I was going to create something with someone else, and I didn't want it to be hindered by falling under the moniker of BingeNinja. So I think that, you know, BingeNinja has always been kind of my main focus in terms of expressing my art and kind of what I want to convey emotionally. But I really like collaborating with people, and I really want to share experiences with people. And I find that sometimes when I'm doing BingeNinja, I get a little too self-involved, and it can kind of be isolating in just all facets. Whereas when I'm collaborating with someone, it just seems to garner like a little bit more fun and a little bit more playfulness. And you know, I would probably be butchering the quote, but you know, I've always kind of held to the mantra of like, take your art super seriously, but don't take yourself super seriously, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's allowed me to kind of just branch out and throw some things at the wall and see what sticks. And I've learned to rely on my instincts in terms of who I collaborate with and who I choose to mix my records with and who I choose to collaborate with on videos. I think I've just harnessed that gut instinct now, where it's like it all seems to stick now, you know? So it's kind of a situation where my previous success, I mean, however that measure of success is, for me, it's, do I feel happy with the final product? Is it something that I want people to hear and something that I'm proud of? And I think, you know, as I say, in the last decade, you know, I've been involved with a lot of different artists, a lot of different genres. Like we did like some hardcore punk stuff with Pungs, with some of my friends from Mississauga. You know, we did like some Dearly Bereft stuff, which was very morose and like shoegazy, and it's I wouldn't really quantify the joy that it's brought me, because it's so varied, but at the same time it's all brought me like so much happiness. So I think it's always chasing that feeling, to answer your question, you know, like it's like, why do I do those things? Well, because it's brought me so much joy, and it's brought me so much success in how I express myself, that like I don't want to get stagnant. I think the main number one thing now is like, if something feels like it's just me and it's just mine, then that's going to be BingeNinja. Otherwise, I want to go out and seek fun and kind of spread some of that joy and share in some of that joy with other people, you know, if that makes sense.
Definitely. And I will. I'm gonna circle back to the album here, but kind of on that subject. You know, you're not only making your own music and working on your own projects. You also throw a lot of shows in the city and help support a lot of other bands, give them an audience, give a lot of artists a chance to have fun together and have that experience together. Do you want to talk a little bit about that part of your involvement in the music industry as well here?
Sure, I'd love to. Thank you for asking that question again. This is why I love doing interviews with you, Jesse. Really thoughtful questions, and like, yeah, you know, I've taken a lot of pride in curating shows as well. I think when I started, you know, in the early 2010s, a lot of it had to do with the fact that like I didn't like the way that promoters were running shows. I think they were just kind of putting together acts and then expecting you to bring people, and there was so much red tape and like expectation, and like how many people can you bring out, and it was all based around money and clout and all the things that I'm really, really adverse to. I mean, it's not to say that I'm adverse to money, but if that's the main driving force, then I immediately kind of get turned off from it. So I think initially it was just trying to house a project or a venue where everyone was going to enjoy themselves. No one was going to have to worry about how many people showed up. No one was going to have to worry about how X amount of dollars you were going to get paid or whatever. And funnily enough, in doing so, it kind of created this scene that did bring a lot of people out and did make sure that bands got paid, you know, on a pay what you can, you know, style, as opposed to charging at the door, you know? So I think people really want to experience music. They really want to experience like a theatrical nuance, you know, they want to see it, they want to hear it, they want to feel it. And I think artists are the same, and it's a shared experience, you know? And I feel like a lot of the shows that I've curated, have been something that everyone has shared. It's not like someone coming and they're checking out their friend's band and then they're leaving afterwards. It's like everyone is having a good night. Everyone is talking together. We're talking about music. We're talking about film. We're sharing contacts for shows in different cities. And that was kind of always my dream. And it's not surprising that there's a lot of other people that feel the same way about it and have been inspired and are now throwing their own shows. So I think, it was never a situation where I wanted to be like a trailblazer or like start a scene necessarily. It was kind of always like I just wanted to play shows with my friends. But it's just there's a natural progression that comes along with that. If everyone's having fun and enjoying themselves, then more people want to be a part of it, and then more people want to start sharing that with other people as well. So I can certainly say that I'm very proud of what I've accomplished, even if it's just within Parkdale or within the West End of Toronto. It's certainly garnered a lot of different shows for different acts and people meeting new friends. And I think that maybe was always the goal that I never fully realized until it just happened naturally, you know? And I'm sure that you can kind of relate to that because as I say, we were talking before the cameras were on. I mean, you started, it was a couple of us in the park playing acoustic guitar and stuff, you know what I mean? And it's like just how far you've come by sticking with it because you love it, and being passionate and giving people opportunities and seeing where some of these people have gone. Like it's just they've skyrocketed, and you yourself have just really become successful. And I just think it's important to if you want something so bad, you have to step into it. You have to kind of be a part of it or show other people that it can happen, And I think, that's something that you and I have kind of come to realize and have realized, So I'm glad you asked that question because I would hope that, if people see this and they have no interest in the bands that I'm booking at my shows or whatever, and they don't want to come to a show that I'm throwing, throw your own show, and find it in another city, find people that you think are great artists, whether it's a visual artist or a band or, someone who works in film, and try and house some sort of event where people can showcase those skills and don't think about how it's going to be received or how much money you're going to get. Always keep in mind that, if you love something, then it's going to flourish, and then those things will come in time, And I've been very lucky to have really supportive friends and acquaintances in music and film and art, where people have been supportive and they have allowed it to flourish. So for me, it's kind of a non-point. Like I'm just going to continue to do it until I can't do it anymore. And I don't really care what happens other than that. So I'm sure you can kind of relate to that as well.
Definitely. No, and I love that, I love that wording of the attitude. It's, we talked earlier too about, just the importance of consistency, just keeping doing it even when times are tough, even when you're, I'm sure we both played shows where there's not a whole lot of people there, and sometimes on that night it feels, it's not the best feeling, but then, a few weeks later you have a show, packed house, and if you would have gave up on that little show, you would have never got to the big one, right? And that's just such a part of the music industry, I guess, or the entertainment industry as a whole, really.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I would just add that, the sweet ain't as sweet without the sour, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Much like life, there's going to be trials and tribulations, but you certainly can't let it bog you down. And if, I think I said this in our last interview so many years ago, like, it's like, if you're in it for the money, then like, don't bother, like if you love something, chase it and make it happen. And maybe your dream will form or mutate into something else that you didn't realize was your dream. But I can certainly say that at this point in my journey with art and music, like I'm certainly the happiest I've ever been, and I've been producing the most art that I ever have, and I'm still really happy with it, and still collaborating and still playing shows, and I don't see any end in sight for me. So if it could be a springboard for anyone who's watching, you know, just keep doing it and keep it alive, man, and it'll flourish.
Definitely love that. Okay, so I got off track here, but I'm gonna get back to the album. So yeah, there's we were talking a lot about the contrast too, and you know, even in the music videos, there is such a contrast. You know, you got one running through the city, you got one right in a field. Yeah, let's break down the videos. First, let's go with Just Go. I loved, you know, seeing you going through, interacting with all of the different people, and that is one thing that I really love about Toronto is as you're going through the street, you never know who you're going to see, and I feel like the music video really gave that feeling. How was filming that and coming up with the concept and everything?
It was absolutely beautiful and everything that you just described. However, we just so happened to be like the hottest day of the summer. Like it was like mid-July and it was so brutally hot. So I remember we were shooting on the Gardiner at the Toronto like sign or whatever, like just praying that cops weren't going to bust us at the time. And
to get that FIFA shot.
Yeah, to get that FIFA shot. And it was so hot. And, you know, Steven Sandu, who was filming that music video, like I could just see him sweating while he was holding that camera. And it was just like, there was such a bond with us, you know, it was like the whole suffer for your art thing, you know? But yeah, when it came to us walking through the streets, you never know how that's going to go. And like you said, it's just everyone was so great. People were shaking my hands. Kids were like dancing behind me and trying to lip sync the song. And, you know, starting conversations like, what is your band like? Are you guys playing any shows? And I think it's just such a testament to how vibrant the city's art community is. It's just people are so afraid to kind of like dig into it and just get out there and kind of set an example like I was talking about before, you know? Like if I saw someone in a hot pink t-shirt filming a music video, I mean, I would try and be in it, you know? Yeah. Like I'd want to be a part of it and feed off that energy. And so I thought it was great for that, for sure, for that particular video and that song. Because it's just so up-tempo, and although the subject matter, it's a little bit negative, I thought it would be a cool juxtaposition to have this bright, vibrant, you know, jokey kind of, I mean, that's kind of been a running theme in a lot of our videos, but for that one in particular, the fact that it was this boiling hot summer day that we didn't anticipate, we just kind of leaned into it, you know, and I think there's like a lot of strangers on the street smiling and a lot of us smiling and, you know, stopping into different places to get like drinks. And yeah, I think it's a lot to do with like creating a really awesome experience that day as well. Not just being like, oh, we got to get another shot, you know, like It was like, I think we got to like hour 6 or 7 and it was just like, man, like we let's go out again, you know, like let's get one more shot. So
one more shot, always one more shot.
That's what I remember from that video, how excruciatingly hot it was, but us being like, no, we got to get another shot still.
Nice.
Yeah. And then you want the other one as well,
yes,
I guess?
Yes,
yeah.
Let's jump into that. Very, very different vibe for the video.
For sure. And it's funny because I'm certainly, after I record a song and I'm listening to it, I tend to walk through the city or try and find like a place that's kind of like in nature where I can really kind of sink into it and get inspired. And sometimes that's, you know, listening to film scores like I mentioned earlier and getting together with friends and actually discussing ideas. But other times I just kind of wait for it to come to me. And in that particular song. I had been in a really bad mood that whole week. It was a tough week. I was going to meet a friend outside of Broadview Station, and it was like I was coming out and I didn't know how to get to their place. It was the first time I was meeting them at their place, so I just decided to walk it. And the sun was just going down. It was that like beautiful hour where like the sky was pink, and I came across that field, you know, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. It was just one of those like lightning bolt moments where it's like, this is where it needs to be, you know, like just how I was feeling listening to the song, seeing the environment and the pinks with the greens, and you know, that's kind of how the initial idea came to me. And then we worked that into the color scheme as well, because you know, we work with the greens and the aquamarines at the beginning, and then as it gets more emotionally intense, we flip over to infrared where everything was pink, and then it kind of created that dreamlike state as well. So, you know, I'd like to say that I sat down and I hammered it out like for days on end, but really I just waited for it to happen, and then it just came to me, you know. And it's just beautiful how those types of things can happen, and I don't question them when they do happen, you know. I don't think you have to fine-tooth comb everything, you know. If there's something that you really think needs tweaks and needs that type of treatment, I've certainly been there before. But when those moments hit and it just all makes sense, I tend to go with my gut feeling on that. So that was kind of how those two videos worked.
Nice. And I love that approach to art. You know, there's always, you know, there's things you can nitpick yourself on and work on forever. And, you know, other things that kind of come together naturally. And that's such a beautiful thing about art, is there's no right way of making it.
Good point.
And yeah, that's, so we've talked a lot about the different kind of directions that you have gone. And I know for myself, and I'm sure anybody else who's been following your career is curious about what's coming next, and which direction, and what kind of visuals and music are going to be coming next from you.
I appreciate you asking that too, because we do have some new BingeNinja stuff that's been recorded.
Nice. And
we're working on some new stuff and trying to get that recorded. It's looking kind of like it's going to be an EP. It's going to be 4 or 5 songs, which we've always done full lengths for BingeNinja. So I feel like we're just kind of we want to kind of condense some of the anticipation, like from ourselves as well as our audience, so that it can be like a little bit more, because I think about my previous releases, they've been like 2 songs or 3 songs, and I feel like they've been really well received because it's something that like you can perform immediately, you can get into people's ears, they can get into it, but they can also continue like varying their playlist, you know, because we've always been like a full record band, but we're starting to understand that that's not really where things are going now. Like now, even we're not listening to people's full records anymore, you know? Right. So it's kind of coming to the realization that like, if we're having this like era of songs, let's just cut it off when we feel that it's right. Let's not force it so that we have to make a full record, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
You know? Because it's like, it's still taken us 7 years since our last BingeNinja full length to get as far as we've gotten so far. But I feel like it's starting to shape itself where we're going to be happy to like stamp it and kind of walk away from it and then think about how we want to approach it visually and all that sort of stuff. So to not be rambling, we recorded 2 songs with Greg Dawson, who's done work with like countless amazing artists in Canada, like Moneen and Mayer, and just the list goes on and on. And we're very happy with them. So we're sitting on those. We've got some stuff that's a little more acoustic with some more orchestral arrangements that we're working on.
Okay.
And so once again, it's going to reign true to my aesthetic of just being kind of all over the place, but it's going to be just like a 4 or 5 song. So I think, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how people react to something that's like not so grandiose. It's a little bit more condensed, which is exciting because I always feel like I become a little overwhelmed with the BingeNinja releases, and in doing these side projects and doing EPs, I kind of want to experience the joy of that and the flexibility to kind of walk away when it's right and not obsess about it, because I tend to do that, you know, as I say, like I once the record is done and we've promoted it and the music videos are out, I can let go. But that entire process is just a huge ball of stress for me the entire time. And I've just had so much fun in the past 7 years kind of collaborating with my friends and using different techniques. Like we were recording here in my apartment, you know what I mean? And it's just like so much different than a studio, so much more relaxed, and you get different performances and different perspectives. So I wanted to try and incorporate all those different styles that I've been using for this record, so that it can bring us more enjoyment. And I want that to exude into the music itself, so that maybe, you know, that can rub off on the people that listen to it, you know? Nice. So definitely more BingeNinja stuff that we're starting to focus on now. I've gotten some of these different projects off my chest. But that being said, like, should something come my way or should I be inspired, I'm not opposed to trying anything else. And, you know, on top of that, we're playing some shows. We're throwing some shows. So if you're interested in playing shows or you're interested in attending one of our shows, just stay in touch with BingeNinja Band on Instagram, or like check us out on YouTube. Real BingeNinja, I believe, is what it's called. So, you know, you talked about consistency. We're consistently releasing, you know, video material. We're consistently releasing music. And we're consistently trying to book bands who want to play and want to get their stuff out there, and people that want to show their visual art, and people that want to show their short films. We're certainly ready to curate all of those things. So get in touch with us, show up, say hello, and look out for new BingeNinja stuff if you're interested in hearing it.
Amazing. Well, man, thank you so much for taking the time here to you know, tell us about the new project, about what's coming up next. Yeah, I've had the opportunity to get to have a few of these chats with you over the years, and I can't wait to keep doing this down the road.
I've gone on and on, both on and off camera today, but honestly, Jesse, thank you so much, man. And I'm really, really proud of your success. Keep going, keep doing it, keep growing exponentially. I mean, you've got a bunch of podcasts that you're backing now. You're getting high-profile interviews. You're flying out to festivals. So check out dropoutentertainment.ca as well, is what I would recommend. That's where this interview is probably going to end up. And the slew of interviews that we've done in the past with different projects. And thank you so much for sticking with it and for not getting too big to come back and do the little guys, you know?
Could never.
Bury my head in the sand. Broken headed, tell me to go.